Welcome, Rotarians and guests, to the Rotary Club of Madison. I'm Teresa Holmes, Club President. Today's meeting is sponsored by Rich Leffler, Susan Schmitz, Carol Toussaint, on behalf of the Wisconsin Historical Society. And our thanks to them for sponsoring our meeting. Let's direct our attention to our opening music. Heidi Frankson will be leading us in the singing of our patriotic song, God Bless America, with Elaine Mitchler on the keyboard. And following our patriotic song in celebration of Halloween for Sunday, we will be watching a video of the Addams Family. It'll be our theme song featuring Elaine Mitchler, again, on the piano, and Casey Oakers playing the flute. And so also our thanks to Jeff and Angela Bartell for helping out with the production of this video. As I announced last week, it's election time in our club. I'm going to again introduce our directors and nominees until our election on November 10th. That's coming up soon. We have 12 members who serve 2-year staggering terms on our club board of directors, with 6 members elected annually. The immediate past president also serves a 1-year term. Our current board members are, and you'll see these on the screen, Brian Baskin, Herman Bauman, Mark Clear, Stephen Elke, George Hidalgo, Anita Muhammad, Charles McLymans, Mary O'Brien, Valerie Rank, Lee Richardson, Scott Strong, who'll be replacing Deb Archer as of November 1st, Rob Vandenberg, and Cheryl Whitkey. Let's give them a round of applause. As I mentioned, our board has 2-year staggering terms, so Mark, Stephen, George, Anita, Mary, Lee, and Cheryl will be going off the board on June 30th. We'll now begin the process to elect 6 new board members to replace these outgoing board directors. The nominating committee reviewed over 60 names, and I'm pleased to announce the 13 nominees, 12 nominees plus 1, you'll see. The following members have agreed to place their names in the nomination. If you are in the room when I call your name, please stand. Mary Donahue, Mike Gotzler, Mark Green, Annette Helmer, Jason Ilstrup, Ron Luskin, Mike McKay, Casey Oakers, Janine O'Rourke, Jen Savino, James Ty, Alex Vitani, and in addition, last week, 20 voting members signed a document to add Anthony Gray to the list of nominees. Let's congratulate them. Each of these members has served as a chair of a committee or fellowship group, which is one of the criteria of the committee that the committee reviews. On November 10th, our membership will select 6 of these leaders to join the board for a 2-year term beginning next July 1st. The 13 nominees represent the future leaders of our club, and any combination of these 6 will serve our club well for the next 2 years. Because of the pandemic, we will continue to use an electronic ballot process for the election. We'll be sending an email to all members on November 10th, and members will need to click on the link and complete the ballot by the noon that next day. We'll also send the ballot out to any member without an email 10 days before the election so you have sufficient time to get the ballot back to us. I'll mention lastly again that our club bylaws does provide for the possibility of additional nominations. So any 20 voting members may nominate additional candidates. Any additional nominations must be submitted in writing and filed with Pat Jenkins, our club executive director in the Rotary office, by the end of today. Thanks to our nominees who have agreed to place their names in nomination for this year. Our program committee is continuing its new series, Getting to Know a Community Leader. As our way for members to become more connected to other leaders in our community, we have a monthly series titled Conversations with Community Leaders, where we feature leaders who are new to Madison or who have a new role in our community. This month, we are going to hear a brief interview with Sheriff Calvin Barrett, who was appointed by Governor Evers as Dane County Sheriff in May. Calvin also joined our Rotary Club last month. I believe he's in the room. Yes, yes. So let's now watch the 5-minute video interview of Calvin, who was interviewed by our very own Martha Vakulik-Austin on the program committee.
I'm Martha Vakulik-Austin, and I'm talking with Dane County Sheriff Calvin Barrett today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It is an honor to be here, and it's an honor to be a fellow Rotarian.
Oh, thank you. Share a little bit about your family with us.
Yeah, well, I have been married for over 16 years now. I met my wife, Kate, in college at UW. We were both students. We currently reside in Sun Prairie, and we're raising a family of 2. I have 2 daughters, a 14-year-old going on 21 named Charlotte, and then a 10-year-old going on 21 years old, Colette, who's in 5th grade. And we are enjoying the Sun Prairie life. We enjoy living here in Dane County and enjoying the opportunities that are coming from me being in this new position.
So you were appointed by the governor from a pool of applicants. Why did you apply to be Dane County Sheriff?
Yeah, I applied to be Dane County Sheriff because I felt at that time that there was a time for change, a time for an opportunity to lead and bring my life experiences, my professional experiences, my personal experiences, and my training experiences to a field that is heading in a great direction. I had the opportunity to follow a fantastic sheriff, Dave Mahoney, who was a friend and a mentor, and I thought this was an opportunity to lead and lead a great sheriff's office who will lead and inspire this generation and the next generation of peace officers here in Dane County.
What are the qualities you believe make you uniquely suited to be the sheriff of Dane County?
Yes, I feel number one that I have experience, number one as a Dane County deputy, as I was hired in 2009 and actually have worked in all 3 of the facilities that we have here at the Dane County Jail. But also I have patrol experience working in Sun Prairie as a patrol officer for 5 years and implementing and practicing the community-oriented policing while being a patrol officer there in a community that I lived in. But also most recently, in the past 4.5 years, I've been teaching on the academic side of the criminal justice system at Madison College in our criminal justice studies program and in our law enforcement academy. So I believe bringing the experience of working in the jail, working in our communities, and the academic side of it are all the qualities needed to really take us forward towards the 21st century policing model and national criminal justice reform that we are all working hard to achieve.
So you've been in the position for about 6 months. Have there been any surprises?
Yes, there's been a lot of surprises, but the number one surprise I would have to say is 24 hours just isn't enough time in the day. I don't think there was ever a time in the summertime where I felt that there wasn't enough time, but now in this new position, the days go by fast, and being able to be in the community and working as a leader and working with our sheriff's office and our community leaders, there just doesn't seem there's enough time in the day. So if we could extend our days to maybe 38 hours, maybe that could help with a lot of the things we have.
Maybe you get some sleep at night.
Sleep at night, right. But it's been going fantastic. I have a great team that's here. I have a great supporting cast, not only of those who are working here at the Sheriff's Office, but people that have been in my life that have always been there in a supporting role, and they're continuing their friendship and their mentorship in this new role for me.
So as you look ahead, what do you see as the challenges and the opportunities for the department, for the county?
right? So I see a lot of, I see challenges as opportunities and opportunities to overcome. And by doing that, it starts, number one, with ensuring public safety, but engaging with the community. Number two, I think a priority that we need to have and an opportunity to move forward is to really look at our jail population and see what programs we can implement to reduce recidivism, which in turn reduces our crime rates, which in return increases public safety. And number two, how do we diversify our staff so that it properly reflects those that are in our diverse communities? And so by bringing all of those opportunities together, I think we can move forward and accomplishing the goals that we want, which is safe, fair and impartial enforcement, but also leadership in regards to national criminal justice reform efforts and really changing the mindset from the warrior aspect of being a law enforcement officer to a guardian. And in that guardian role, we can do both. We can enforce the law, but our goal is to keep and maintain the peace, and that's our ultimate goal. Another challenge, which is also an opportunity, is really having the funds and the facilities needed to provide the programming we need to help those that are within our care and provide them with the resources and the life skills they need to help them. We have those that are here within our care, our residents, and what can we do while they're here to help them? What programs can we provide? What literacy programs can we provide? What job trainings can we provide with them while they're here so that we can ensure there's a warm re-entry back into the community?
Well, that's great. Well, I wish we had more time, but Sheriff Barrett, thank you so much for taking time to talk with us today. We look forward to seeing you at our future Rotary meetings, and I'm sure that people will have lots to talk to you about.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. It's been an honor. Thank you.
Our thanks to Neil Farbach for the editing of that video. Mike Gotzler chairs our Rotary Ethics Symposium Planning Committee, and he has an announcement.
Thank you, President Teresa. Our Ethics Symposium is full steam ahead. Yes. All right. At least for now. Yes, COVID is outside of our control, and we've started the process of reaching out to the approximately 25 Dane County high schools who participate in this wonderful event of ours every winter. We do have a date, February 4th, Monona Terrace Convention Center. There's a lot of work to be done between today and that date, a lot of planning to be done. Our committee is meeting for the very first time today, right after our club lunch across the hall in the Capitol East room. We do have about 25 folks who've already signed up to serve on the committee. Thank you very much. For those that have participated in the past, you know well that we need more than 25 folks. So I, along with other committee members, welcome you with very open arms to assist in our efforts. So again, we're expecting the event to go forward. We'll see what happens with COVID, of course. Initial feedback from high schools has been positive. Health and safety concerns aside, they have indicated a strong interest to return. This will be, I almost said would be, this is gonna be our 21st year of this fantastic event with juniors in high school. So, yeah. So please join us if you can. If you can't make it to the committee meeting today, and those that are watching virtually, we do have a Zoom option today to join us. Just reach out to me or the Rotary office, and we look forward to joining us at future committee meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Is Alan Klugman in the room? If you are, could you please stand? Yes. So, Alan, I want to thank you on behalf of our club and the Jewish Federation of Madison for your gift and support of our 2022 Rotary Ethics Symposium. Yes, generous support to helping our local high school juniors learn how to deal with ethical dilemmas daily in their daily lives. Thank you. Our Rotary Information Committee provides reports on interesting Rotary topics, and today, Janine O'Rourke has a report about Rotary's International Polio Eradication.
Good afternoon. So last week you heard from President Teresa about the Polio Plus initiative. Last Sunday was World Polio Plus Day, and I've been thinking for the last year or so, okay, what's next? We've been doing this since 1979. In that time, 3 billion children across 122 countries have been protected. This year so far, wild polio is at a record low with only 2 reported cases, one in Pakistan and one in Afghanistan. So isn't it time we move on? Well, that's me being impatient, right? I mean, just like COVID, we just want to move on. But as I was looking through our monthly magazine from Rotary International, and just front to back, you could see that Rotary is still fully committed to eradicating polio, and that we're not done. In the words of John F. Germ, the Rotary International Foundation Trustee Chair, after all the progress we've made in our decades-long fight, the worst thing we could do is become complacent. And there's a lot of new opportunities. Right now, there's a new polio vaccine to address type 2. There's recent efforts across different countries as they go in and vaccinate for young children with polio. They're also able to give vaccinations to the community for COVID and for measles. And I reflect on my own personal experience in India a few years ago, where I still, saw people that were handicapped and homeless and dealing with the effects of this. So we are still fully committed, and we need each and every one of us to help meet the annual commitment that Rotary International makes, which is $50 million a year, and that is still supported with a 2-for-1 match by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And I encourage you to be with me, patient and committed. Thank you.
Thank you, Janine. Quick reminder that our Community Projects Committee still has several volunteering opportunities. 2 tree planting projects on October 30th, just a few days away, and there are flyers at your table for that, or regarding that information. Also wanted to remind members that this Friday, is the deadline to complete this year's member engagement survey. So the Rotary office sent an email reminder this past Monday, and so we hope you'll take the time to give us that feedback, which helps us evaluate what we're doing and making the changes that we make for the future. We have birthdays to celebrate with a bit of humor and wisdom that complements our Rotary mission. We also encourage members to make an age-appropriate gift, rounded up to $100 for our Club Synergy Scholarship Fund. October 27th, Kathy Bloomrick. October 28th, Maria Alvarez Stroud. October 29th, Ron Thorstad. October 30th, past President Jason Barron. October 30th, Harry Engstrom. October 30th, Bradley Hutter, who shares a quote from author Jack London: "The proper function of a human being is to live, not just to exist. Do not waste your days trying to prolong them. Use each day to live." Thank you for each celebrant, and let's join me, please, in wishing them a happy birthday. All right, I have one more quick Polio Plus World Polio announcement. So our very own Michelle McGrath, who is also our district governor nominee, is hosting a virtual Ride Your Bike for the End Polio campaign. So they're looking for 2 Rotarians who are interested in joining them in a real ride on November 6th from 8:30 to 10:30 a.m. I will send that information to the office, and we'll also include it in the Friday email. All right, on to our program. Yes. Our speaker today is Satya Rhodes-Conway, who has been mayor of Madison since 2019. Mayor Rhodes-Conway grew up in Ithaca, New York, and she received her degrees from Smith College and the University of California, Irvine. Before being elected mayor, She was the managing director of the Mayor's Innovation Project and a senior associate at the Center of Wisconsin Strategy and the University of Wisconsin-Madison for 13 years. She has extensive experience in local policy and practice, having worked with mayors across the country for over a decade and having served 3 terms on our Madison's Common Council. Today, she will discuss Madison's response to the COVID-19 crisis, how the city is prioritizing resilience and recovery with key capital and operating investments, and how the city continues to address critical issues like safety, housing, transportation, and climate change. We look forward to your presentation, Mayor Rhodes-Conway, and we have made a contribution to the Rotary International Plus Polio Plus Fund as a way to saying thank you for speaking to us today. I want to remind everyone that we will have, in the event of the time, a Q&A session at the end of Mayor Rhodes-Conway's speech, and please wait for the microphone before asking your questions. And with that, Rotarians and guests, welcome Mayor Satya Rhodes-Conway to our podium.
Thank you, President Teresa, and it's so good to see all of you. Thank you for getting vaccinated so that we could be together in person. And thank you for inviting me to talk about how the city is working to build resilience and recovery from the pandemic. I'm honored that you've made a donation to eradicate polio. In my honor, we're working on all these viruses, right? I just want to reflect for a minute. Since the last time I stood at this podium, a lot has happened. And the last 2 years have been really difficult for our city. Many folks in Madison got sick, and too many died from COVID-19. And many folks in Madison have been impacted by the economic fallout of the pandemic. Many of us are anxious, and some of us have been traumatized by the experiences that we've had. I think we're all still trying to figure out, can we be in person again? Is it okay to shake hands or not? How do we navigate this? I invite all of you to just take a deep breath and acknowledge that it has been hard. And then take another deep breath and acknowledge that we've made a lot of progress since COVID-19 first hit our community. And today I want to share with you some of the things that the city has been working on to help our community recover and to build back better. I'm going to start by sharing how incredibly thankful I am for our amazing healthcare workers, both private sector and public sector. Can we give them a round of applause? You know, when Madison faced its first case of COVID-19 back in February 2020, our public health department, our university, our local hospitals, and many of our private biotech companies leapt into action to learn everything they could about this novel virus and the threat that it posed to our community and our world. And since then, Public Health Director Janelle Heinrich, County Executive Joe Parisi, and I have met almost every week to share information and perspectives, to discuss emerging issues, and to constantly reference the data to make sure that we're on course as a community. Last March, we were the first community in the state to issue public health orders restricting mass gatherings. We were among the first to produce a data dashboard, to set up mass testing sites, and then mass vaccination sites. And we still have those happening now. At the city, we set up an emergency operations center that met for over a year, which, if you know emergency management, is really unusual to have an emergency operations center last for that long. And thousands of city workers never paused in providing essential services, including our first responders, our metro bus drivers, our garbage collectors, and countless others. I want to call out in particular our clerks and our poll workers, who have now run several pandemic elections safely and securely. They are still under attack every day from people who are perpetuating the big lie. And so I hope that you will join me in thanking them and defending their important work in our community. When the pandemic hit, we rushed to pop up the city's popular streetery program and took many other emergency actions to support our restaurants and small businesses across the city. We hustled to construct new locations for people experiencing homelessness to protect them from COVID-19, converting first the Warner Park Community Center and then the city's empty First Street garage into warm, safe, and spacious temporary shelters. And all of our actions had an equity-driven focus on those most vulnerable to COVID-19. And this work continues today as we push to raise our already really remarkable vaccination rates across our community. Today, we do have the highest vaccination rate in the state and one of the lowest case rates. This allows us all to re-engage with our community and get back to work safely. And I want to sincerely thank all of the businesses that joined us in implementing a vaccine mandate for their staff. I am proud that 92% of city workers are vaccinated. And I have heard that there's a number of large employers who have rates that are even higher than that. We're working on catching up. And I really applaud those employers. Thank you so much for your efforts to protect our community. And due to our high rate of vaccination, our community never experienced the overwhelmed children's hospitals that we saw in other states. And today, the rate of child cases in Dane County is half that of the state of Wisconsin's. I'm so thankful to everyone in our community, including you, that took action to keep themselves, their families, and our entire community safe and healthy during this pandemic. Together, we have made it this far. And with boosters available and a vaccine for kiddos just around the corner, I'm feeling hopeful that we can learn to live with this virus. But if our community and our economy are going to recover and thrive, we have to deal with some other looming challenges. Top of my list is our affordable housing crisis. Earlier this year, I introduced my Housing Forward agenda to increase housing supply and housing choice, to create affordable housing, to combat displacement, segregation, and homelessness, and to help seniors and others stay in their homes and in their neighborhoods. Madison added 75,000 residents in the last 10 years, and this trend shows no signs of stopping. But as many of you know, we still have a worker shortage, and part of that is due to the lack of affordable housing. We need to push as hard as we can on affordable housing while dramatically increasing the amount of housing that's being built across our community. This means using every lever at the city's disposal. We are catalyzing the development of new affordable housing with ever-increasing city funding and with land banking. Just in the last week, I've been to 2 groundbreakings on important housing projects that the city is supporting, and that gives me hope. We are encouraging a variety of housing types and price points in neighborhoods to help Madisonians remain in their neighborhoods, even as their housing needs change. We are amending our zoning and permit processes to make it easier for the private sector to build more housing and to ease the pressure on our housing prices. We are also helping to prevent evictions and homelessness with $22 million in rental assistance and expanded loan programs that help seniors and others stay in their homes. And we're investing in homeownership opportunities, particularly for people of color, with our nonprofit partners to help build family and hopefully generational wealth. If you believe, like I do, that workforce housing is critical to the success of our community, we need your support to create more housing options in every neighborhood, including yours. And we can use the help of everyone here to finally build a purpose-built men's shelter, a 24-hour facility with housing navigation, job search, and other services built right into it, something our community has talked about for years. and something that is finally within our reach. I want to thank Susan Schmitz for her work on this and her leadership. You know, we can no longer pack our homeless folks into tiny church basements, although I'm so grateful to those congregations. People experiencing homelessness in our community need dignity, they need safety, and they need services. And I am hopeful that we as a community can come together and get this done. Thank you. Just as critical to our long-term success as a community is climate action. In April of 2021, I announced my Climate Forward agenda to rapidly advance the city's effort to address climate change over the next 2 years. The city has a plan to achieve 100% renewable energy in our municipal operations by 2030, or maybe sooner. We also have a goal for our entire community to be net carbon neutral by 2050. Between rooftop solar, renewable energy contracts, and credits, the city is investing in 20 megawatts of solar energy. That means we have met 74% of the electricity use in our municipal buildings with renewable energy. That's a great number, but it's not high enough. We are retrofitting all of our city-owned streetlights with LED bulbs. We've been converting our fleet to EVs and other low-carbon fuel vehicles, and this includes unveiling the nation's first American-made electric fire engine, which Governor Evers was excited to announce with us early this year. And this thing is fantastic if you haven't seen it. Love it. Thank you. It's really exciting. Heavy vehicles are the next generation here with electric. And we're rapidly expanding our green jobs training and apprenticeship programs, training people who are underrepresented in the trades to install solar panels and LED lighting, to plant trees, to work on electric vehicles, and more. And developing the green career ladders that they need to advance into good-paying jobs. Because transitioning away from fossil fuels not just helps our environment, but it also helps our economy. And we are continuing to invest tens of millions in stormwater systems and green infrastructure to improve water quality, reduce stormwater runoff, and of course, prevent flooding. Our achievements so far offset as much carbon as a forest of 470,000 trees. But the clock is ticking, and we have to do more. In partnership with Sustain Dane and Elevate, we are retrofitting naturally occurring affordable housing in Madison to make buildings more efficient and to add solar energy generation. We've been helping homeowners, business owners, nonprofits install solar energy on their roofs through the Madison program. And if you don't know about that, you should check it out. And we are growing that program. I urge you to join us in the effort to get to 100% carbon-free. It's never been easier. Solar is cost competitive, EV technology is maturing, and net zero buildings are possible. We were the first city in Wisconsin to set the goal of 100% clean energy, and you can help us be the first to get there. But even more needs to be done. To help us reach our climate goals, and to provide a long-term boost to our economy, we are moving forward with our plans to construct a bus rapid transit system with clean, quiet, and electric vehicles. Our congestion and pollution problems are only going to get worse as Madison grows, unless we do something to change that. Metro Rapid, Madison's bus rapid transit system, is supported by millions in federal funding, one of the largest infrastructure investments our city has ever seen. It will connect our city and our entire region more efficiently than ever, running east to west, relieving congestion across the isthmus, and then north to south, connecting key employers and educational institutions. Bus rapid transit will help our residents get to work, school, shopping, and entertainment quickly and easily. And while the downtown routing that we've settled on was the most popular during our transit planning process, some are now asking why the city wants to bring bus rapid transit to the Capitol Square and to State Street. A key premise of rapid transit is that it goes where people want to go. And people want to go downtown. In 2019, almost 600,000 people boarded buses on the Capitol Square. 250,000 people boarded buses at the top of State Street. The bus rapid transit system will provide front door service for everything our wonderful downtown has to offer. Other alternatives, such as the Outer Loop, have less direct routing that would actually be worse than our current bus system and would put the complementary stations half a mile away from each other. The burden borne by that distance would be disproportionately falling on people who are disabled, people of color, and people who are low income. With detours, we can accommodate the vibrancy of downtown events without putting the burden on transit riders all year long. The metro system redesign that is underway right now, and I hope you've engaged with that process, will now allow us to take almost all buses off the length of State Street. Upper State Street will have 60% fewer buses during peak hours, and Lower State Street will have even fewer buses, if any. And this redesign will improve service and accessibility to our entire city. You and I know that rapid transit is critical to getting people to work in a tight job market. And the evidence is clear that it can act as an economic catalyst as well. Cities across the country have seen significant redevelopment and job creation along their bus rapid transit corridors. Businesses and cultural centers get visibility, and customers and visitors get easy access. This can be done with an eye to aesthetics as well as opportunity. And speaking of opportunity, there's a lot going on downtown. 31 new first floor businesses have moved into or expanded downtown in 2021 alone. I'm particularly happy that we've got some great new retailers. After talking about it for years, we now have a Target downtown. We have a True Value Hardware over on West Wash, and one of our great local clothing retailers, Jazzman, expanded into a second location that includes women's clothing as well as men in their new duet space. If you haven't been there, you should really check it out. Several new restaurants have also joined the downtown mix. And I'm really grateful for the partnership between the city, the Black Chamber of Commerce, the Latino Chamber of Commerce, and the Hmong Chamber of Commerce for the successful launch of Culture Collectives, which is our new State Street pop-up shop. This is what we hope will be the first of many new collaborations that build back a better, more equitable, and more welcoming downtown. The pop-up shop program is part of the city's Small Business Equity and Recovery Program that lays a foundation for new retail opportunities for historically underrepresented businesses. This year, downtown, the city supported the Madlit program, an event series which was a new initiative hosted by the Urban Community Arts Network and that occurred in the 100 block of State Street. These events helped bring in foot traffic and provided opportunities to diverse artists, musicians, performers, and small businesses. I want to thank the Greater Madison Chamber, DMI, and Jason Ilstrup in particular, and the Central Bid for their continued partnership and support as we work together to take downtown into its next chapter. Of course, economic development doesn't just happen downtown. The city's Commercial Ownership Assistance Program is helping businesses owned by people of color and women and other underrepresented people to buy commercial properties and grow their wealth all over town. We now have 4 approved grants under this program, including to the amazing Anesis Therapy and the Go-O Groceries that will be out on East Washington. And we recently approved a substantial TIF loan for an industrial project on Femrite Drive. Just as we're supporting small business development, we're also supporting medium and large businesses in their growth. I am confident in our economy's ability to recover from the pandemic and hopeful about what that means for our community. And equally critical to building a better community is public safety. The pandemic has spiked gun violence nationwide, including here in Madison. and residents are understandably concerned. Our new Police Chief Barnes, who I'm very pleased is here today with us, is using a data-informed approach to identifying patterns in these incidents, and MPD has been engaging in a strategic planning process, I think for the first time ever under his leadership, that uses environmental assessments, crime data, and community engagement to station and equip officers where they need to be, when they need to be there. In this year's budget, I supported Chief Barnes' request for 8 additional officers for the town of Madison to ensure service and response times parallel to the rest of the city. And I also supported his request for a data and innovation director to work on this type of strategic planning and operational efficiency throughout the department. And I really want to thank Chief Barnes for his leadership. He's brand new, but he's doing a great job. One of the things that I appreciate about him is that he understands that it's important for us to take a multifaceted approach to the problems of violence that we see in our community. And reimagining public safety is a challenge that we have embraced. I'm happy to report that the city's new CARES team for mental health emergencies is now out there responding to 911 calls in the downtown area, and we are looking to grow it in the future. Teams of community paramedics and crisis workers will respond to nonviolent mental health calls for service in the place of armed officers. This better serves patients that are in need, it reduces contacts with the criminal justice system, and trips to the emergency room. And it frees up time for MPD to work on more critical issues. Public Health Madison-Dane County's Violence Prevention Unit is also leading a violence intervention process that supports and complements law enforcement. The goal is to prevent violence by addressing root causes, building community capacity, and creating better systems for addressing low-level conflicts. I have substantially increased investments in this approach over the last 2 years, supplemented thanks to the federal ARPA funds, for which, if President Biden happens to be listening, I am incredibly and enduringly grateful. I've also recently invested $1.2 million in federal ARPA funds to help 11 community-based organizations provide 23 different programs for youth ages 14 to 21. These kids have been through a lot during the pandemic, and these programs have a goal of growing employment and life skills in a supportive environment. Public safety issues cannot be addressed through an either-or mentality. They require a both-and approach. We need law enforcement to address violent crime and to hold people accountable for their actions. We need a public health approach to support victims and to break the cycle of violence. And we need investment in our communities, and especially in our young people, to keep violence from taking root. I'm committed to creating a Madison where everyone feels welcome, where everyone feels safe, where everyone feels supported, and I believe that this is how we get there. This really has been an unprecedented time for our city. But thanks to a great team at the city, we have steadily and creatively addressed every issue that has confronted us. The pandemic, homelessness, the economic impact on families and small businesses, while not losing track of those issues that are maybe a little bit farther in the distance, like climate change and preparing Madison for future growth. When I was elected in 2019, I promised to work on housing, transit, climate change, and racial equity. The pandemic has added a few things to that list, but I believe that we have stayed focused and that we're delivering for our community. With President Biden in the White House, we are working to secure every single federal dollar we can to advance important projects for our community, including, I hope, an Amtrak station. It's so long overdue. I want to end where I started, by acknowledging that for so many reasons, the last 2 years have been difficult for our community. There's too much anxiety and anger and impatience infiltrating our interactions with each other. Each and every person in this room is a leader. And I ask each and every one of you to find ways to infuse kindness, respect, and understanding into your work and your daily interactions. It's up to all of us to make that difference. Madison is a strong and resilient and beautiful city. The challenges facing our community have to be taken seriously, but if we hold true to our values, if we work together, we are more than equal to them. Thank you so much for having me here today, and thanks for everything you do for our community. I think I have left enough time for at least a few questions.
I can't touch it. Thank you, Mayor, for speaking to us today and sharing your priorities. Appreciate it. You alluded to some of the challenges of the election, holding it during a pandemic and the attacks that have come against it, which we're still reading about in the paper every day. What kind of challenges has that presented to the city? And most importantly, how do you see that maybe influencing future elections in the city?
Thank you, Janet, for that question. It has been a lot on our minds recently. I mean, let me start just you remember that April election right after the pandemic hit, and none of us really knew what to do, right? And we didn't think people would be comfortable coming to vote in person, and so our amazing clerk's office worked incredibly hard to facilitate the influx of absentee ballot requests, to process all those ballots, and to make sure that everybody who's eligible to vote in Madison had the chance to vote safely and securely. And they did the same thing then in November of 2020, but with even more creativity. Our clerk is so incredibly dedicated to democracy, it's amazing. Unfortunately, some of the folks who didn't like the outcome of that election have come back again and again and again. We have had, I can't even count how many open records requests on the results or the process for the November 2020 election. Obviously, we've been attacked in the press. I'm sorry to say that our clerks and our poll workers have been, some of them attacked personally over social media. We had death threats. Our clerk received death threats. I've received death threats. Our public health director has received death threats. You know, it's just been an incredibly trying time. And now, of course, there's this, what should we call it, fraudit, run by Attorney Gableman, who can't decide if he wants me to come to a strip mall in Brookfield or not. You know, at some point, this is ridiculous, right? The election happened. It was well run in Wisconsin. And do you know how I know it was well run? Because the people running it are our neighbors, right? The poll workers that go to all of our libraries and schools and other polling places, that's our community, right? And that's true throughout the state of Wisconsin. So to continually impugn those people's abilities and integrity is really disappointing to me. I have said again and again, I'm happy to go anywhere and talk to anybody about how we ran a really excellent election. In fact, I've done that multiple times in national forums. But if someone is conducting a taxpayer-funded investigation, the taxpayers have a right to know what they're asking and how they're conducting that investigation. And that's been our commitment to you and to the public and to the media, that if we're going to answer questions, we're going to answer them out there on the record in public. And if anybody has questions about any election, our clerk's office is happy to help you figure out how to vote safely, because we believe in democracy, and we believe in everybody being able to vote, no matter how they vote.
Mayor, thank you for coming today again, and I appreciate all the work you're doing. However, these are issues for me. the safety going on in our high schools, especially East, and I know you're not the superintendent, but I know you talked to the superintendent, and you mentioned the police chief. It seems like it's out of control. I know this morning I saw that they removed the principal at East High School. I don't know if that's going to resolve the issues, but the students at East High School are very upset, and the other high schools also have other issues. And then the last one, on diversity, equity, and inclusion, I did go to the collective cultures that you talked about, but as far as equity is concerned, Latinos are not getting equitable contracts, equitable resources, or equitable support. And I find that, concerning, but I know that you're trying, and I got to give you credit for that, but we're lacking as far as the Latino community is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you for the questions. As you said, the superintendent runs the school district, as you know very well. But I'm happy to report that the chief and the superintendent talk regularly and have been, I think, in communication on a number of different safety issues. So we are, of course, always happy to support our friends at the school district, however they need. But between the superintendent and the school board, it's their responsibility to set the course and our responsibility to support them in that. In terms of our investments in the Latino community, while it's perhaps never enough, I think the Latino Chamber might beg to differ with you on, because we've had a really just incredible partnership with them. And I really want to call out Jessica, the leader of the Latino Chamber. She's been amazing throughout the course of the pandemic. And Camille at the Black Chamber as well, and then more recently Macy at the Hmong Chamber. When the pandemic started, we reached out to them because we knew that small businesses in our community were going to suffer disproportionately from the pandemic, and that they were going to need support, and that small businesses owned by people of color were going to suffer even more than other small businesses. And so we've been working with the chambers this entire time to make sure that they have the resources they need to invest in their businesses and to create more access and opportunity for folks of color in our community to start and to grow their businesses. And we've committed over $2 million just in this next budget alone to our Small Business Equity and Recovery Fund. And that's not even counting what we had committed last year as well. But I'm excited about those partnerships. I think there's a lot of room to grow, and there's a lot of room for us to support increased diversity in our business community and in our community more generally. And that's something that I'm committed to doing the work around, and I know we have great partners to do it with. And now it's time for me to say thank you again. I really appreciate the time to be here, and I appreciate all of you.